Wow, I thought that was a longer clip. Welcome back to another episode of the Filmmakers Corner. I am Peter Murphy, here with Connor Heck, Michael Lachochin.
Hello.
And our guest, Liz Holland.
Howdy.
Welcome.
Are you from Holland?
No, I am not.
Oh.
Where are you from?
I am from Los Angeles, California.
That's not nearly as cool.
It's not nearly as cool. I grew up in the Valley, so born and raised here originally. Yeah.
We actually know Liz. This is all
we do.
It's all pre-scripted.
That's why the horn came in. I felt comfortable enough.
It's all theater. I love that.
It's all theater.
It's performance.
Michael, you want to talk about how we know Liz?
Yeah. So Liz is an assistant director. That is what I came to know her as originally. However, she is a up-and-coming director-producer, as is everybody out in LA, you know. Mm-hmm. Tap yourself on the back there. Mm-hmm. But Liz is actually a very, very talented filmmaker. We've gotten to collaborate several times together. She's an awesome assistant director, and I felt like she was like a really good example of just a young up-and-comer who's really paving a way for female filmmakers in, you know, quote-unquote Hollywood.
Well, shucks. That was a great, thank you, introduction.
And that's it. We'll see you guys next week.
That's it. That's the bio corner. No, thank you. Yeah, I've been a first AD for a while now in LA, and it's been really interesting. Like you were talking about, up and coming young female filmmaker, just the different challenges that you have with all of that. So, I mean, I do want to bring up a little bit of. I want to pat you guys on the back. You just patted me on the back. I think that
eye roll.
One of the best.
I'll take it.
One of the best things about I work a lot of union and non-union, and with the non-union, you tend to get people who are a little bit younger, a little bit hungrier, people who are more passionate, making passion projects, as opposed to people who are just like, you know, crewed up onto something. And I think that not only is like the generation of filmmakers I'm working with, like you guys, very hungry and passionate, but like you guys are the good men. I haven't had any problems as a woman working with people like you guys.
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean,
no, until this episode.
Until right now, when I get beaten down.
That's actually not funny. That's
well,
not,
but
in
like,
a serious scene, that's not funny.
Yeah, it's. I'm serious. I think that most people like you guys and
as
people
he
I
takes
work
a
with,
sip from a 40 ounce, like
are not assholes. But the people that I work with, I'm actually very lucky to have worked with mostly young men and young women and just like younger people on non-union sets who really respect me. And I've never had any problems with my gender or my age on those sets. It's been like a really big privilege for me to mostly with most of my non-union work have like that respect. I think.
Does it happen with union stuff?
Yeah, older grips.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like with
people
with union sets, it's just so weirdly different because the grips and the electric on non-union sets are like also like people who went to film school and people who really care and like love movies and are there for the movie. And then you just get like people who are like electrics and grips and it's just their job and they don't give a shit. And like you're a PA standing there like, hey, please quiet on set. Like that's my one job. I'm here to like say quiet on set. You know me. And they're like fuck off. Why are you talking to me? And like and talk louder or start playing music. Like people who aren't in it for the love of film and who also they're like a step behind. And I feel like there's been a lot of good movement in the last couple of years with the Me Too movement and everything, but I don't think it extends as much to female crew as it does to female talent. I just think it's
that's true.
That's fair. It's really only been, I feel like, a recent adoption of that kind of like policy measure. You know, I mean, I've done some features the last few years, and it's always been like, oh, you know, heavy emphasis on like minority, you know, like hires. But I feel like really like crew has kind of come under the spotlight the last few years because I think nobody was hiring, you know, minority crew, and everyone was like, hey, so we're doing that on the other side of the camera. Like we kind of need to like be doing that on this side of the camera too, you know? But I mean, and it's been our generation, I think, because, you know, we haven't always been in control of the hiring, and we're starting to finally move into that position where like more of our generation does have that fiscal and just managerial hiring power that we can make those decisions and like kind of make that impact on like a daily basis at work. We can choose to hire, you know, like the minority picks because like, you know, whatever, we're advancing some policy or agenda that works for our ethical purposes, you know.
And also like, I mean, obviously I don't have like the issue of being a female on set, but because I DP non-union stuff, and then I work as like a camera operator, camera assistant on union stuff. And there is like, it's a lot of older people on union stuff because they're more established, obviously. And there is that like moment of, okay, I'm obviously like one of the younger people on set, so people kind of just automatically write you off in a way, or don't quite respect you initially. So you kind of have to, there's definitely that moment where you have to like prove yourself and be like, no, I can do the job before you really get the respect of like the established older people on set. So, but
I think it might just be a little bit of ageism. Yeah, you're right. And like the way that we both work very similarly, like we have, you know, we're heads of department when we work non-union because we like are skilled at those things. And like, you know, I can produce, I can first AD, but obviously when you step onto a union set, like things I've worked on the last couple of years, like Godzilla, you know, King of whatever, or King Kong. I'm so sorry, that's bad. Godzilla 3 versus Kong.
Is that the one with 11 from Stranger Things?
Yes, it is, with Millie Bobby Brown. But like,
it.
It's not out yet. I don't think. This is the third one. This is the third one. Wait, she was in the last one.
That's not out. Kong versus.
No, there was like a second.
Godzilla.
There was a second one, King of Monsters, that came out that she was in. And then the third one that I worked on is coming out soon. I did all the reshoots.
So she's also on.
She's
that.
also on that, yeah.
Got
but
it.
like on something like that, obviously I come in as a PA, and I respect that it's so much bigger. Like there's more moving parts than are on, you know, non-union generally. There's more money. There's just more on the line. There's more legal, more whatever. And like as a PA, there's more paperwork. It's just a really cool. Like I actually like how we straddle both worlds. Like I like learning from the bottom up as well, because I think you really get a well-rounded experience. And like if I do want to go out and first or if you want to shoot like union stuff, it's important to be around it and kind of take that in. But it is just it's disappointing when people just don't respect you as innately on union sets.
Sure.
Can we just like back up and pause? Because again, we all know you, okay? We all know like kind of where you come from and what you do. But I think that we need to like provide some context to like your experiences, because you know you have some very, very like legitimate experiences to talk about, but it's like why does it matter, you know, and where do you come from? So you were born in, and you know you got into film how?
Yeah. So I was like I said, I was born in the Valley. So I guess like my parents just generally appreciated movies. Like they aren't specifically like cinephiles or movie lovers. My mom more so than my dad. But when I was growing up, I just from a young age watched movies. Like I got to pick what we watched at Blockbuster. Blockbuster is my I wanted to be a manager of a Blockbuster more than anything, and I never can. Like that was my dream career.
Did you like spend like way too long in the aisle as a kid, just like just dicking around, like picking up every title and reading the back?
Yeah, my dad used to joke that for some, like he's like, you come in here and you already know what all of them are. Why are we here? Why don't you just know what you want to pick? You've read all of the backs. Yeah, I like loved.
It's not that easy. Too indecisive.
It's not. But it was you know, my favorite thing as a kid was going to Blockbuster. Really loved movies. I wanted to be an actor first, was actually like my big thing. Like when I was a kid, I was in all the plays. I did background on the weekends because like when you grow up in LA, you can do like background during the summer and whatever. And I just at a certain point, this is going to be like a little tragic Liz story right here. But so at a certain point, yeah, I had like been doing acting classes. I had a manager, whatever. And I just wasn't like booking gigs. And my mom like one point pulled the manager aside and was like, so what's going on? And I like overheard this. This is like really tragic, but he just, it's really sad. He just goes, Liz is just too chubby. Like she's just like, she's a really, she's
How
a really.
old are you at this time?
I'm like third grade. And
What?
maybe not a tiny little kid, but like whatever. So I
feel like
overheard.
you can cast for that though.
You can cast for whatever, but it
Is
was
that
basically.
nature or nurture, Peter?
Ooh. It's nurture. Someone said that aloud.
It's not going to make sense
Nurture.
if you didn't watch the other episode.
That's true.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's but so I was just like a little kid who heard that and was like, fuck that, man. And like I got really down on myself and on
That is a bummer at third grade.
Yeah, and down on acting as well.
Yeah.
So I like stopped all the acting. Like I still did plays in, you know, high school, whatever, because that was like friends. But got down on acting, but like still really loved movies and still really wanted to be a part of them. And like as a kid, I just didn't realize there was anything besides like acting in the movies. Like so.
Do you think you would have like had that experience not traumatized you? Do you think you would have continued on as an actress, or do you think that like you would have been like age 12 and been like, I don't want to do this, Mom. This is like playing fucking cello, and I don't want to do it anymore. It's not fun, you know, even though she's making a lot of money off you.
Well, chances are I probably just wasn't a good enough actress
Ah.
to like do it. But
Oh, that was the shade they threw. They just wanted to give you like. You think they were just giving her an excuse?
no, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. I probably would have continued longer, and like my mom would have sunk more money into like acting classes and like agents and all that stuff.
But did you like it? Like,
Oh, I loved acting. Like I really like I continued on stage for a while. Like I acted in everyone's college films. Like I'm the first to just be like, "Fuck it, I'll do background in your movie."
would you
That
act?
makes
Would
so
we-
much sense.
we worked on
that makes so much sense.
We worked on a couple of projects where she was like last minute added as like a featured. Like,
Oh my god! So there's
Couple
so many
lines.
ones where
So-
it's like, oh, we need one more person in the party. I mean, I guess I'll do it. Liz is like ready to do it. That makes so much sense.
So I'm not talking like crew member subbing as an actor level. I'm talking if you were offered the opportunity to act now, would you? Do you have that same interest in it, or did that just completely like slash and burn your acting dreams?
I mean, I think part of it depends. So many like it depends on what the role is, who's the director, whatever. Like if it's a friend who I trust, who's like, Liz, I see in you like my muse, I'd be like, fuck it, let's try.
So
But-
within context.
yeah, within context, but mostly probably not, because I do a thing that I think is so different about the two roles, like being in front of and behind the camera. And I kind of brought this up earlier about like women in front of and behind the camera is like that was me in the 3rd grade getting like called chubby. I don't want to be on Instagram as an actress. I don't want to know what anyone has to say. I don't
Yeah,
like the internet is
facts.
an awful place.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's so hard to be a woman in front of the camera. I mean, like Millie Bobby Brown, we were just talking about her earlier. Like she gets a lot of hate sometimes on Instagram because of like the outfits she's in. People say they're too mature, but it's like she's a fucking, like let her live her life. This is a social medium. And I couldn't go through that. And I think I love so much being behind the camera because you still are uber instrumental in like the film. But you also don't have to deal with like the shit talk. I mean, maybe people don't like the movie you make, but at least they're not insulting you as a person.
Yeah.
Totally. So, you grew up in the Valley. You worked here. How did you like really get started into like the business then? If you were just, you were interested, parents weren't really like in the business. You had no lead into the industry. So, it's easy in LA. I mean, let's be real. Like even,
It's very
10
easy.
years ago, there was still Craigslist, like
Yeah.
there was a foot in the door.
Yeah. And I think I was very lucky. I went to Loyola Marymount University on like a scholarship, and I got to meet a lot of people there that I think are instrumental in who I know now. Professors who hired me and, recommended me. Other students who graduated years ahead of me, and like the LMU network kind of shuffled us together. Or there was a show that LMU had called the Hollywood Masters Series, and it was an interview show. And I PA'd that for like 4 years. So I just had like, live show, interview show experience, like talent PA'd like Willem Dafoe and Gary Oldman. And like I came out of college with, that experience as a PA on like a legitimate thing, as well as like I had AD'd like 50 shorts. Like I was just like, hustling, no weekends for me. During the summers went out and, shot stuff as well. I just like really hustled with being a collaborator for other people. I just, if anyone, I had a really hard time saying no for a while, which definitely like now, like
Nicolas Cage syndrome over here.
exactly.
Well, and
I'll take anything.
Liz, I feel like you're abbreviating a huge because you just like archived 50 projects, together. It's like, how did you even get the ambition to get like I always considered myself a very driven person, and then I met you and you're like, so yeah, I'm going to do your feature. And then on the weekends, I'm going to do this other feature. But then at night after shoot with you, I'm going to prep this other feature that I'm doing next month. And I was like, I just can't even fathom that energy output. Like, did you just realize that that's like what you needed to do to compete with all the out of towners and stuff? Because I know that that's kind of like a thing here in town. Like,
What, that's really interesting. I don't do it for like it's not a strategy. Like it's not
I think
a
it's just your
strategic move.
personality, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna
But
say
why
I
did
was just
you-
so bored.
but
Like,
why did you develop into that direction? Like there must have been
Nature
something
or
that
nurture?
like yeah, nature nurture.
Let me
Peter.
do the intro. Welcome to Nature versus Nurture.
Filmmakers edition.
Well, like what fostered that though? Like because I feel like so for example with me, I developed that because I was just literally surrounded by an ambient environment of people telling me that either A, I couldn't do this as a career, or B, it just wasn't realistic. Like, you could do it as a career, but it wasn't realistic to make a living as that as a career. Like, you know, you can do that, but you're going to have a job at Kroger, like bagging groceries too, you know? So I just became determined to be like, well, screw this. Like, I'm going to go make a living doing what I want to do, and I'm going to show, y'all, you know, but like, what motivated you to like get to that point where you're, you know, 20 something and you've done 50, you know, like you were so young and you'd already done a huge compilation of work as like an assistant director, like way more than most people by their 30s had done.
I honestly just feel like I never had that moment in college where, you know, other people were like, oh, I don't really know what I want to do. I'm like trying stuff out. I like went into college for film school. I was there to make films. I was there to make connections. I was there to make friends, but I was there to like make movies. And so there was never a point. I mean, like my freshman year, a little bit, I like fucked around the first semester, like didn't like work on stuff.
We're the same person, because I was the same way. Like I like. Well, I didn't know. I found cinematography specific. I had juggled that idea.
Well, same
but,
with ADing.
like,
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but yeah, like regardless of what film school, I tell people this all the time. Regardless of what film school you go to, or even if you go, but if you go to film school, it's like, yeah, you have your network that can help you early on. Of like, oh, this person went to my school or whatever, graduated above me. But then it's really like while you're in film school, that's what I did too. It's like, it wasn't the classes, it was meeting all these people and then just like working on stuff outside of class, like those 4 years, you know, just like cracking away, music video shorts, indie features, and so that's the right way to do it, I think, for film school. Definitely.
I agree.
And we've talked about this in other episodes, that you kind of have to have that extracurricular ambition, you know, to just pursue these, like, oh, I'm gonna go work for $25 today, and I mean, not that anyone should or be okay with, right, or should do that or be okay with that, but just like
meal.
just that you were at a point in time willing to do that in your career, to meet people, to like sacrifice. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that that's a really successful and time-proven blueprint on like how to get your foot in the door and work a lot in the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, again, and because people want to guarantee, people want to know, like, I'm going to do 10 of these free projects and I'm going to be set and stable, you know, but there's no guarantee. You might do, like, you know, Peter, it's like you, what did you do? Like 2 unpaid projects?
I probably did like 5 million AFI shorts and then, started
did you?
getting paid. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I never, and see, like,
actually, does it sound cooler if I did less?
No, I mean, I think it's just everyone's approach, because
well, but again, that's why
then never
college.
mind.
That's
Yes,
why college is so good, is because you're
Shit.
like paying for the experience already. Like you kind of know what you're getting into with college. Like you're putting stuff into it, and working for free is like, yeah, it's because of course your fellow students can't pay you money. Like it's kind of, you get, it's a favor system, and it's just so nice to be able to do it during college, as opposed to like I would have, you know, if you just enter into the real world like after college. No connections at all. Like
and
the
also,
favor system sucks at that point.
and being able to fail quietly in film school is like a really good lesson.
Yeah, totally.
Because like once it's for real and you have to actually like
all eyes are on you.
and you're spending money,
and it affects you getting hired on the next thing, or
and just your experience and like, I've done a 5,000 AFI shorts or whatever.
Right. So anyways, continue. So we had this ambition for 50 shorts, and then what have you moved on like after that? Like, what did you move into after that, and why was assistant directing like your pocket?
So I think the thing about assistant directing actually like found me, and I think that's why it worked so well, is that there was just a TA that I had my freshman year for my like art of the cinema class. Like, you know, he was a graduate student doing his thesis film when I was a sophomore, and his AD for some reason could only do one weekend, whatever. And he just like out of the blue was like, Liz, will you just like train under him first weekend and then AD my second weekend? You can do it. And I was like, what? I can do it? Like this adult person who like has been doing films at this school was just like, I think you'd be a great first AD. And so then I just like started doing it. And then like it just really quickly, like, of course I learned lessons about like call sheets and like all sorts of things. Like it took time, but pretty quickly, like within that hire, I was on like 3 or 4 other like grad student projects, and like just made a name for myself with them, with the professors, with a lot of the undergrads. But just like, again, it was just once I started, I just really, I think I just cared about it, and it just makes sense to me. Just like the way my brain works is like spreadsheets and like all of like the folders and stuff. And some people just don't have like the innate sense of like organization, but it just, it just really suits me being an AD, I think.
Sure.
That's a perfect transition to my next question, which was for anyone listening, can you unpack what exactly like the Los Angeles standard, for like an assistant director is, what the AD, well, what does that job title do? Because I'm just going to save everyone the suspense. It's not fun, and it takes a very particular kind of brain. So hats off to Liz. Liz, tell everyone what an AD does, please.
Yeah, well, at least I'm going to give the more non-union description just because that's what I'm more familiar with personally. But it's like you do the scheduling and you send all the emails to the cast and crew, and you hopefully you have a second who does that part and who like publishes and sends the call sheet. But you make the call sheet, you do like the strip board, and then on set you're just like 50% just like a timer and 50% just like a problem solver. And all you do, you just have to stand around like knowing times and knowing what times you have to keep and which ones you can let slide. And you have to like constantly be managing like basically like what is going to ultimately be positive to your day versus negative. And like every decision that you're making is just kind of, how are we going to get this done? Maybe not in the initial plan, but in like a way that works with what the circumstances are now.
So
roll sound.
who do you
Exactly.
who do you work for? Who do you work for then? Because see, like I think a lot of people have the misconception that you work for the director, but an assistant director does not work for the director.
I mean, you work for production. You work for
You're a timekeeper for the director.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that a director has like somebody like literally on their ass. Like, no, you.
But I will say, I think that is what makes me a slightly more approachable AD than maybe other ADs, is that I'm not only do I feel like I work for production, but I feel like I work for the crew. And so it's like I would like to hope that I've worked with them multiple times, but it's like when we're working, I hope that you guys feel like I am also there to make sure that you have enough time and that you have what you need. And like, yes, I'm trying to impress upon you that you don't have that much time, but like, how can I make you feel like you got like that much time? And I just want to make sure everyone feels cared for.
The AD is basically the cinematographer's enemy.
No, we're not.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be that way.
That is the truth, except
it could be a frenemy.
so.
It depends on the approach, right?
I think Liz definitely has a unique way of like being friendly with everyone, but stern at the right moment.
For my experience,
it's very, very good.
Because like as a cinematographer, like when I worked with Liz, though, also she's the one that's like, okay, we need to get this done in this amount of time. So she'll also go off like, hey, I need this much time for this. I'll say that to her, and then she'll just go off and be like, she'll also problem solve on the other side, where a lot of ADs are just focusing on like getting the director everything they want, even if the director doesn't know what they want or they're not being concise with how they want to approach something. She'll go to the director and be like, hey, if we did it this way, we could save this much time, and then that would give us more time for this thing later. So she also kind of helps me. That's why it's not always an enemy relationship, where she'll help me by, she will also adjust other things that where the fat can be trimmed, versus a lot of times the cinematographer is kind of scrambling to get all of these things done. You know what I mean? Like you're helping.
You keep your friends close and your enemies close.
Exactly. Your frenemies. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
But I hope to support all members of the crew, like the director as well. Like, I just genuinely, I think that's why, because yes, the AD works for production, and I want to get the day, and I don't want to go into OT, and I don't want people to suffer, and we have whatever to get done. But I also just love genuinely fostering, especially with non-union projects, people's visions. Like, it's just so important to me that people get what they were somehow aiming for. Like, as many times as we have to make sacrifices and like cut and edit and like combine things, I just want like the director and the DP and people to be happy with it.
Yeah, I see a lot of times that a good AD is like the one, it seems like from my perspective on Genie, doing the work a lot of times, because the director had all this vision, got all the people there, and now they're just fucking sitting there, and then the AD is like coordinating everything and making sure everything happens. That's how I see it a lot.
Liz is the secret director on a lot of projects.
Big time. Yeah, oh yeah.
Not that the other directors weren't doing stuff, but she was really because she understands. And actually, this would be a good segue into the next thing I want to talk about with Liz. But she understands movies just from a cinephile standpoint, first of all, which is helpful. And then she knows how to direct, and she knows how to AD and schedule and all that stuff. And so she's a lot of times helping the director. Liz specifically, but some ADs in general, like, is helping the director like figure out how they actually want to shoot something when they're on set. And a lot of times she's actually making a lot of creative calls and choices to to benefit the director's vision and my vision too.
It's not that the directors aren't doing anything; it's that they're not doing anything. You know, like they gotta figure it out.
Time to throw some shade at some directors.
All right, let's list the names.
All right.
Call them out.
Michael Bachot.
Oh. Connor, you want to take us into our next segment, movies.
I want to talk movies with you.
I love movies.
I know
Well, how do you feel about? I don't know. That's dating it, I guess. But I'm gonna say it anyways. HBO releasing all of the Warner Brothers stuff same day as theater in the next year.
I think it's like a big call to say all of next year, but also it's not at all. COVID will still be here all of next year. I think I think it's a cool thing because I think there's a lot of like pocket releases and things that like I'm waiting to see, and then I just this holiday season, if I don't watch Dune, God,
Oh my-
God
pretty
end my
much-
life. Like,
I just
My
want
whole
IMAX,
existence.
though.
yeah. But
My
listen,
whole existence is pretty much, how can I see Dune? And that's
Yeah.
it. That's all I want. And then you
Danny-
can kill me.
Are you
and
really
that's it.
jazzed on Chalamet?
Dude, you have
No.
no
I'm jazzed
idea
on,
how
on,
excited
on
I am
Denny
for Dune.
Villeneuve.
Okay,
That's
Denny Villeneuve. I don't know how to say his name.
Villeneuve?
Villeneuve.
Denny V, I call him.
Villeneuve?
Denny is, speaking of movies, Denny's a fucking icon.
Best director to come out of the past decade.
Oh my God, yes.
Maybe Denny, yeah.
Big time. Big time.
I would agree. And so I'm just like, listen, Dune, the trailer didn't move me, but I'm a big proponent of like, don't get on the hype train for anything ever because your expectations will be high and they can only not be met.
Yeah.
So always
mind
set
killer.
the bar low. And like Dune right now, I'm like, okay, cool, maybe it'll be all right. And then when it's good, I'll like,
Have
be really
you
happy.
have you read any of the books?
No.
Have you?
Have you?
Bitch, I've read the first 3.
Ooh.
And I don't even read books.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, are those the only books you've ever read?
I think, yeah. I read Harry Potter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Dune 1, 2, 3. And the first Harry Potters were like in like 6th grade. So it's been a
How do you
minute.
get to 5 and you don't finish the books? on
I
Harry
got
Potter?
bored.
Especially 'cause
Then I
seventh
realized there's like girls and I was cool, and then I was like, why am I reading anything?
But-
That means you
Whoa.
started late.
But Dune is dense, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dune 1 is dense. Just Dune is dense. It's like 3 books in one.
Oh,
I'm not
really?
a
Then
big
the next
sci-fi
couple
reader.
are the second one.
I've always
easy,
wanted to.
quick read. First one though is like there's so much shit in those movies that's like made up words that you gotta like look back or just like figure it out in context clues, and that's pretty much what I did. But it's gonna be awesome.
You know, Peter wasn't researching. He's like, I could go back
I've
5
I
like-
don't
pages.
need to know what
but-
this is.
I haven't read. I've always wanted to, but I've seen the original Doom movie, the David Lynch one, and then
I've never seen that one.
just not very good.
Wait, are you going to talk about
Um,
Hodorowski's Dune?
Well, there's
There's
my God,
multiple
I mean,
Dune movies?
no, well, you can get into it was
What?
it was
No.
supposed to get made like,
Liz?
so many times.
Okay, listen, yeah, Hodorowski is.
wasn't actually made.
yeah, it's that documentary
His
about
concept
Alejandro,
art
yeah,
and all this
Hodorowski,
shit
and like
looked
he
cool.
had like Geiger like ready, the dude who did like the Alien and Aliens, like he was
Yes.
prepped, but he always asks weird things of his actors, and like the money couldn't come together, but it was going to be an amazing movie.
Dune is a cursed movie franchise.
It
for
is,
sure.
but that's why this one.
Or like it's just.
be the one.
I
Denis
mean,
did
yeah,
it
I don't
though.
know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Denis.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it'll come out and it'll
All right.
make like
But I'm
10
fascinated with that
million.
whole
Speaking
world.
of Denis, then what's the best Denis movie?
Oh, this changes daily for me.
I think
Same.
I
I was about to say I know what it is, but then I thought
'Cause,
of
like-
another one.
Prisoners, Blade Runner.
no, what? Prisoners number one?
No, no, no,
Prisoners
no, no.
up there. Prisoners
Prisoners is up there.
You guys
Enemy's
are
great.
Are you guys thinking about his filmography daily?
Yes.
Yeah, every day.
It's not that
every
every
single
every day?
no, literally every
Until
single
Dune
day of my
comes out.
life.
every day.
Incendies is dope.
I'm the odd one
Incend-
out. I'm like,
Incendies. What a great
Yeah.
movie. That, but like
Blade Runner. might be the one.
Arrival is just like
Oh, I forgot that
Arrival's
was
great
him.
too.
exactly. Sicario
The
on
dude's
Sundays
killer.
for me. Yeah.
I like
I
Sicario a
keep
lot.
forgetting
I
all
saw-
those
It's not my
ones.
favorite, but
I
I
saw
like it a lot.
Arrival after the hype
Yeah.
train.
Arrival's
and I
like-
wasn't.
Oh, I
Arrival's
also
so
secretly
good.
love Enemy. Big Enemy.
I
That's
fan.
what I
watched
said.
Arrival
Enemy is one of my
yeah,
favorites.
Enemy
yeah.
is
Enemy
like
is good.
ooh, I'm just a big Jake Gyllenhaal person.
Yeah, I watched that for Gyllenhaal, and I left with Denis.
Oh, yeah.
that's what
stayed
happened. in
Just
that.
Denny, man. Wow.
Oh,
Prisoners is
Prisoners
one of the best
is amazing.
dramas ever. Honestly, in
I
my opinion.
think
Love it.
Blade Runner might be my number one though.
Yeah.
Blade
it's
Runner
amazing. Blade
or
Runner is
Arrival.
incredible.
I just did a movie draft recently where everyone like had to pick movies from 2010 to 19, and I just
Ooh.
yeah, it was really fun. But I got Blade
Fuck,
Runner
that'd be
2049. I got Arrival.
How?
I was just drafting them. What do you mean?
How did no one get them though? Besides
oh,
you?
in
Are
the
they
draft
stupid?
order, people were really stupid. Not
Jesus.
some of the choices were good.
Can I speak on
Some.
something for a second?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The tragedy that Blade Runner 2049 flopped. Not
So
surprising.
we'll never get a sequel.
Not surprising because
I
the
don't want a
original
sequel.
Blade Runner didn't do well, and it became a cult classic. But you know, that level, those like sci-fi blockbusters, they're like directly competing against like Marvel and Star Wars. And when it doesn't do well, it's only hurting that whole
The
level
option.
of filmmaking, because they're like, well, it failed.
But
so then
I
we
wouldn't
gotta
have
only
changed
do this.
one thing about Blade
Not
Runner
one thing.
2049.
Not a
I'm just pissed that
wouldn't.
people didn't fucking see it.
If you didn't
Yeah.
like Blade Runner,
Leave.
you're fucking stupid.
But here's the
That's
thing.
a fact. Right
Unsubscribe.
there,
I
dude.
still
haven't
It's
seen
so
Blade
good.
Runner.
Unsubscribe.
Hold on. Here's the
I still
thing,
haven't
though.
seen it, so
Because
no opinion.
Dune is like
I
a.
know.
Pull up
Shut-
the clip.
Michael,
Blade
shut up.
Runner
I'm talking.
2049.
In this scene, you see
God.
Ryan Gosling doing a test to see.
You guys are the
All right.
worst.
It's quick. 2 hours, 49 minutes. Here we go.
Well,
What do we think? Can we talk about runtime?
No, I'm not done with my point.
Oh
Okay,
my.
go ahead.
My point was, Denny is getting a second chance with Dune, which is like a very similar, like, he's doing this big budget sci-fi action film that has such a niche audience.
But they've already greenlit the sequel,
Do you
Well, here's the thing though, but the problem is
I believe.
it's not gonna make that much
Yeah.
money because it's not
think
gonna
he
be
said
in
3.
theaters.
No, it'll still.
Yeah.
How is it
It's
gonna-
already
So
an uphill
then-
battle.
So they'll just
No,
let him
I
have the
agree.
second.
It's already an uphill battle, like what
Yeah.
Blade Runner
Yeah.
2049 went through, and then on top of that, it's already kind of cursed.
But
to not
okay,
do
my
well.
my thought is the other option right now for this like situation is the Mulan thing, and I think that's,
Well, that's
not the
Disney,
way to go.
though.
But like, I'm not gonna pay $30 because you
Plus
would
a
have
subscription.
to plus a subscription to watch Dune because it would be like $25 to
I would
$30.
pay that.
I would do
Listen,
it.
I paid $30 for King of Staten Island. That's what,
Oh.
but like,
But also, I also don't really want to support that because that also is gonna. That
Theaters
business
are already
model.
dying.
That business model is gonna screw over theaters. Is what I was gonna say.
I think there's specialty theaters that are gonna survive. Thank God we live in LA. That's the only reason I would ever live in LA.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would wait. I meant that. I would never live
Liz
anywhere
hates
else.
LA.
I would never live anywhere else. I love LA. The New Art is gonna stay.
Mm-hmm.
The Arrow. I know the Egyptian was just bought by Netflix, but at least the weekend programming is still American Cinematheque.
Yep.
There's like we have the Alamo Drafthouse just opened. Like we're
Yep.
hopefully keeping some of our like
The new Bev.
premium. The new Bev is never gonna die.
We
even
can't
if the
not have.
Well,
theaters
that's
here.
probably going to be a
Yeah.
trend. I mean, I would assume, and again, probably by publishing date, we might actually know more about like where this is headed. But I would probably assume by like the end of this next year that most major theatrical chains are going to be owned by like the big box studios.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you know,
probably.
Netflix is going to own their.
Can I talk
Netflix's
though about
AMC's
wasn't
or
this like the
Amazon's.
whole vertical integration thing we like cut out of business all those years ago? Like there was a giant what is it called? What's history?
What's history?
There was a giant like
Her
reform
story.
law
Grade.
back in the day because all of the studios owned like the means of production.
Oh, monopoly.
Oh, and it,
But what was
Trust.
that?
oligop.
Like a
what
trust,
is-
the
what the fuck is
antitrust
it called?
and the
The
trust.
there was the antitrust laws that like
Yeah.
whatever, and this makes me sound so stupid that I don't remember any of the words of it. But the antitrust laws, like I just feel like it's so weird that Disney can produce the content, exhibit it, and distribute
Oh,
it.
we're living in a different world. Different world.
I'm also scared of Disney,
Hey.
but I don't know. What are we gonna do?
Well, yeah, I mean,
The mouse needs his cheese.
Yeah, but they give me money. So
I was
it's
gonna
okay.
say like I really like Pinocchio. Like,
well, in like in 3 years, I mean that was what I was getting to is in 2 or 3 years, all these big box theatrical
Mm-hmm.
chains will probably be owned by like Netflix, Amazon. It's gonna be like how in LA, if you're I don't know where else they're popping up, but there's Amazon grocery stores like popping
Oh,
up
yeah.
left and right. and
What's
it's-
where?
horrific.
In the
There-
valley,
it's
the
there's
first
terrible.
one
It's
in
terrible.
the world opened in Woodland Hills a few
Yeah.
months ago.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and there's one in
it's-
Chatsworth
it's-
now.
That
Dude,
sounds
it's
sick.
like dystopian.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of
Is
those
that the
things.
one where you walk in and you just take stuff?
It's
Yes.
Well,
just a Whole
similar. It's a
Foods.
smart
Yeah.
cart, and the second that you put an item in your cart, there's a sensor that scans it.
Where's the sensor?
All
Are
of,
you
like,
eating the
360.
sensor then?
No, like
No.
it's the sensor's in the cart. It's in like the lip of the
Yeah,
cart.
but how do they know? Oh, just like
The
what if
second
you
it goes
what if you
in,
just pop your hand through? How do they know what it is?
It
Well,
doesn't have a barcode on it.
does your hand have a barcode?
Oh, so it'll scan.
That'd
the
be a sick
barcode when you
tattoo.
go through.
Get like an
what would
Eggo's
you get though? Yeah, an
barcode
Eggo.
tattoo.
You said.
Like
Anyway.
the barcode
Waffles,
of an
yeah.
Eggo.
Because you buy
Anyways,
it so much. You
grocery
just,
stores
like,
and
get
Amazon.
6 of them.
Yeah.
Scan my hand.
Oh, Amazon.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be like, I don't know if it's going to be AMC. AMC said that if they don't turn a profit by, I think it was like Q1 of 2021, they'll officially be like in bankrupt territory.
Yeah, I'm
and
not
again,
worried about them. They're too big to fail. They're gonna get a government buyout.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're the biggest theater chain in the
or
world.
they'll get like a studio purchase or
Well, Disney
It
was already,
won't
Disney was already
matter.
talking about doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I was
Okay,
gonna say
wait,
if
we-
Amazon does it, whoa.
I mean, it won't
need
matter.
to get a definitive answer here from Liz. What's the best Disney movie? You can't beat her on the push here.
5.
I need to pray on
No,
that.
no. Give her a second.
No, I want a gut reaction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Arrival. I don't know.
Boom.
I'm so
That's a
sorry.
There
good
it
answer.
is.
That's a
I
good
don't know,
answer. That's
though.
top 2.
I don't
for me.
agree, but I
Blade
respect.
Runner
I don't
and
know.
Arrival
Blade
are
Runner
so
is
good.
up there for me.
I
But
think
so
I'm gonna
is
watch
Ensemble.
Arrival tonight
Yeah,
and
all
just
of it.
like cry alone in my apartment.
Same.
Just hold my cat.
Same.
not
I've been
always
watching
here.
so many movies this week. I'm so happy. That's all I need.
Top 5 movies go
Oh,
all time.
what a terrible question.
Yeah.
Dude. It's so hard.
No.
On the
I know.
spot,
I
too.
agree. I hate that question, but
I won't answer that.
you gotta answer. I've learned you gotta answer like right now
Is
because
it
it always
rapid?
changes.
Rapid.
Like,
All right,
off
you ready?
the top of your head.
No,
what are,
I
like,
ready?
honestly won't do this, and I can't do this.
No
You can.
particular
You ready?
order.
You ready?
All I have for
No, you gotta go
the
particular
closest
order.
I've ever gone is I have my top 30 on Letterboxd that changes daily, and it's not ordered. I can't do this.
All right, I'm gonna just.
I know
say,
Irreversible is one of your
I'm gonna
favorite
say the numbers 1 through 5. Say the movie that comes out. Okay.
movies. What? This is even more
I
obscure.
don't,
5.
I don't like this.
What's the 5th best movie ever?
A hostile interview.
Can you like stop this?
4.
Oh my
3.
So obviously this is
Well, that didn't.
Liz,
work.
this was obviously your drive into like why you've done so much though is just
Yeah.
you love movies, you know, and I feel like
I do.
that appreciation takes wanting to like work in that world in that environment and then experience that and still be like, oh yeah, I still want to do this because the day you work on a film set it completely demystifies all the fun things about film and all of a sudden you're just sitting there like even if you don't know how something works on set, you're sitting there watching like, you know, a movie like, oh man, like wonder how they did that, you know.
Yeah, I think the one thing that so I like also I also got a degree for like cinema studies when I was at school, and I think that part of that helps you look at movies technically as well as like experientially, like simultaneously, and like you can really separate yourself from it, and that helps with, you know, working on movies. You're like, well, there's no more like mystery, but for me it's more exciting. I'm actually like, you know, 1917 for me, I was watching and I was like, the background PA on this shit, like, oh my god, like,
That
and
movie's amazing.
Motherfucker is
Yeah.
crazy.
Incredible.
Exactly.
From a technical
yeah.
standpoint.
And like you can watch technically, and you can watch with like those questions and those thoughts in mind, but you can also still like experience the movie the
Yeah,
same
it's
way.
like
Like,
another way to watch the movie.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just changes your understanding. I'm not saying it.
Oh no, it does. It totally does. But I think that I've like trained myself to also just like let go
and enjoy the
yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
That's been like a difficult thing, but I feel like that might just you just might get numb to that. I think after a few years, after the novelty of working in the industry wears off, it's just like you can kind of go back to just watching TV. I don't know. I had a really hard time with that when I first got into the industry. Like it was honestly incredibly difficult to enjoy like any sort of narrative fiction because I was like completely ripping it apart and breaking down like, you know, everything from script to story structure to this movie looks like shit, you know? And I feel like only recently in the last couple of years have I gotten back into kind of like the perspective of like I can remove myself from work and just watch the movie and have like a fresh experience like just anyone else watching the movie.
Yeah.
Can I get back to something real quick? Can I at least ask you, off the top of your head, 5 favorite filmmakers?
A 5,
That's easy.
4.
Okay, that's easier.
That's
That's easier.
Filmmakers.
Yeah.
Filmmakers.
I'm not gonna include
Denis.
Denny on this list because we already
Shit.
said him. We've already gone.
Fincher.
In.
Yeah, but where does he-
Yeah, so Fincher for sure.
Top 5 or good 5?
No, just your
Both.
favorite filmmakers. Off the
Okay.
top of your head.
Okay.
Okay, off the top of my
No
head.
particular order.
No particular order, but like Fincher for sure.
And who's number 5?
Stop it. David Fincher is definitely in that list. I
Yeah.
think he's like obvious. I mean, I would
He's
credit
daddy.
him with he's the reason I'm like
daddy
He's daddy,
Fight
yeah.
Club was the movie that I was like, yo, I want to direct movies.
Yeah, he's
Same.
good.
How
Isn't it funny
how
that-
many of us had that experience?
Isn't it funny that
though?
movie flopped and got like
Did it really?
torn apart by
Yeah,
critics when
it's
it
a
came
cult
out?
club. Well, it's because of the way they advertised it. They advertised
really?
it so that like macho men wanted to go see it and
It's
no one
about
else did.
fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
I
kind
mean,
of like
it
how
is.
Drive was like advertised poorly, but yeah,
And now there's a whole
Yeah,
generation
yeah.
of creatives who are like, why did you get in this business?
Fight Club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
inspired-
Dreamy-eyed Fight
yeah.
Club.
It made the money.
well, just David Fincher in general.
We're
I
not
just
supposed
like,
to talk
In
about
the
Fight
end.
Club, and all we do is fucking talk about Fight Club. So,
That's true.
you know.
That's
Damn
true.
it, I
Shit.
forgot that
Yeah.
rule.
Damn it.
Shit.
Fincher.
Rules 1 and
Fincher.
2.
Number 2, Louis Spoonwell is just hands down like
Great.
probably my biggest inspiration for
Great.
like just the type of stuff I want to make.
Absurdist.
Yeah,
Awesome.
a little absurd, a little like, surrealism. I just admire that his career lasted as long as it did, like Un Chien Andalou all the way to like I think his last one was That Obscure Object of Desire, but like you just have this range of like decades and famous people, like the people he worked with is insane.
That's
And
why I love Kubrick.
yeah, and countries too. Yeah, it's just amazing. Like
Un Chien Andalou's the cow eye one, right?
yeah, with like
I'll never forget watching that and being like, oh, what the
I love
fuck?
it so much.
I think it was like freshman year of film school. Like, what? We're allowed to watch this? What?
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then watching it back though, it's really not. It's like so not
What's
well
the one with all
cut,
the?
but it is at the time. It's good.
Yeah, no, it's his movies are like. What's the one? Oh my god, I'm totally blanking.
So there's one where everyone can't leave dinner.
The dinner one.
So that's called The Exterminating Angel.
That one's
great. Yeah, that one's incredible too.
Yeah.
Like he just has such interesting like bourgeoisie like satire, and like that's a thing that I actually really like is
comedy of errors.
comedy of errors and
Yeah.
bourgeoisie stuff. Like I love anything from like France or Spain or like the UK that's like World War I to like 1950, just kind of like the way that like the world changed.
Did
there.
you like The Favorite a lot?
Oh, I love I'm a big Yorgos fan as well. Like
Yeah,
Dogtooth for
that's
me
what I
is
thought
like
of.
freaking up there.
Oh.
A story I always tell is
Dogtooth.
like I watched movies in high school and I wanted to go into filmmaking, but I wasn't quite exposed to like the really weird like obscure shit yet. And I remember like beginning of freshman year, our friend Sean, who went to a different film school than me, but we went to his apartment and his roommate Kevin was like a huge cinephile. And in the same day, because I think Dogtooth had like just come out, he saw it like at a film
2009
festival.
probably.
it
Yeah,
really 09?
2010,
Wow.
2010.
I think so.
But we watched it in the same day. We watched Dogtooth and Enter the Void, and both those movies, I was just like,
Wait,
what?
no, that's
Like,
crazy. I did a
am I
Gaspar
still-
Noé double feature too. I did
Yeah.
I Stand Alone and Dogtooth at the
Oh,
New
yeah.
Bev.
yeah, there you go. And I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't even know movies could be like that. Like those movies like changed me. I was like, what
that's-
the hell?
That's the shit that I'm about. So number 3, Gaspar Noé or Noe.
Oh.
Noé. I don't know how to say
Segue.
his name. I'm so
Perfect
sorry.
segue.
But he's just like the man. Like Climax was my favorite movie last year. Or the year before, or
love
whatever.
That
we
was
can
a-
argue.
That was
Wow.
that was a great
That's
movie.
the-
That was a fucking
I
experience.
watched it and I was like, this is
That-
awesome, but
Yeah.
this is so weird. And then Michael's like, I'm going to watch it 3 more times.
yeah,
I've
I've
During-
seen
I
it like
was-
14, 15 times. Like that
During,
movie,
uh,
I'm not kidding. That movie is an experience. That movie is.
I liked it.
amazing.
During-
Fuck the first
during,
15 minutes of that film though. Like the first like 15 to 20 minutes.
Stop
Oh,
it.
whatever.
I could do with
I
I could do
love
without
it.
No,
that.
that's the
it was
lead up. dude.
See,
That's-
no,
dance.
it was.
But so,
Are you not reading the spines on the sides? Are you not like so excited about what he's referencing?
Yeah.
pretty
no,
awesome.
because
I am.
that's
I'm just like Gaspar, you cinephile.
When,
see that's the
dur-
film
during-
centric like perspective. I was watching
Fuck,
it
I
as
can
just
never.
like just like a
But
viewer.
also the foreshadowing is awesome. If you like pay
Oh,
attention
yeah.
to the what they say and what you see later, it's hysterical.
I'm not saying it's not without intention, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying the last like 50 minutes of the film is it's
Yeah.
a damn experience.
That movie is during COVID. I had a thing with a couple friends. Like we all lived in the states where weed was legal, so we would just get obliterated high,
Thanks for
and then we'd all
clarifying.
watch a movie. And they would always let me pick for some reason. And I was
Don't
like,
let
"We're gonna
Peter
watch
pick.
this one."
Don't
and we
let
watched
Peter pick
Climax,
movies.
and no one said a word during the whole movie.
Was this
It
after
was
we
silent.
watched it?
Yeah, after we watched it, no one said a word, and then it was over, and people were like, "All right, I think I gotta go." No one wanted to even talk
I don't
about
feel
it.
so good,
They were
Mr.
just upset.
Stark.
They were like confused, and then the next day they're like, "Man, I can't stop thinking about that movie."
It's like a really like popular like catchy song you hear on the radio and you're like this song is shit and then you're like humming it the
No,
next
Dude,
day.
except
like-
not at all
dude,
that.
I love.
But it wasn't
the
shit.
dance
I-
scenes in that movie are
I
mind blowing.
listen to
I'm like, it's
Supernature
still
all the
going.
time, yeah.
Oh my, yeah.
All right, let's go back to
I
your
love
your
the living spider guy. Yeah.
your,
So
your
we
favorite
have
directors.
Fincher, we have Luis Buñuel.
We have Gaspar Noé.
Gaspar
Irreversible,
Noé.
I think, is like one of those movies that you have to. I don't think you have to. I don't think anyone has to enjoy movies the same way I do. But I'm not like a popcorn movie watcher. I'm more like I want to see and experience as much as I can through the eyes of as many people as I can. So I tend to go for movies that are a little more like I do older movies, I do foreign movies. I do watch, all sorts, but those are what I've been like leaning towards. And so things like Gaspar Noé and like experiences like Irreversible that you're never hopefully going to experience in
It was
real
horrific.
life, but that like it's part of the human experience. Like I don't know, and I think film is such an interesting way, just like literature, like all things. Like we just want to communicate experience to one
Windows
another.
into different
Yeah.
experiences.
And I
yeah.
think that that's like a very human thing, is to want to experience with others things that you haven't experienced yet before, and like get as close like a facsimile of that. So Gaspar Noé and his experiential films. I'd say recently Powell and Pressburger, the Archers, that production company. I just love Technicolor. I think Technicolor is amazing, and yeah, Powell and Pressburger, Red Shoes.
Red Shoes, yeah. I was going to say, yeah.
Red
Amazing.
Shoes, 49th Parallel of theirs is really good. Black Narcissus, obviously, they just did an FX remake, which is really strange.
Really?
Yeah, I don't understand that. And yeah, no, I just really Peeping Tom. I'm a big horror fan too. So Peeping Tom from them. Fifth person. David Lynch. What the fuck was I doing? Not David Lynch. David Lynch.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
He's not the same guy as Fincher.
Fincher. Well,
No.
Do you have any?
Very different.
Do you have any female inspirations?
No.
Oh, this was a big gotcha.
So
I
actually-
know, but I mean, Hollywood, I feel like is like a
Listen,
big
what I
gotcha.
do
Like,
have-
oh, big joke. They're all white men.
A career I would emulate is Claire Denny. I think that so she started
Denny?
out as an AD.
I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, Denny, full circle. But Claire Denny started
Danes?
out as yes, also she started out as an AD. She worked for like Jim Jarmusch, who like also like what the fuck that would have
He's
been
awesome.
incredible. He would have also been in my top 5 had I been thinking. But she starts as an AD, works for all these incredible directors, really like hones, you know, herself as a creative person, and then everyone is like, you need to go make your movie now. And like at a point when she was ready, when she had a movie, she went out and made a movie, and now she's been making them ever since, and like she's fucking incredible. I don't think she was ever as influential on my filmmaking or like my film loving as some of those other directors. But like, you know, White Material, Chocolat, like you have like these things from her that are just gorgeous, and I love her. And like High Life, I'm even down for.
Thanks for not pronouncing it chocolate, by the way.
I feel like it's probably hard to even put, like, just the nature of how long film's been around and how not progressive it was
Yeah.
for so long.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a lot of, like, there's not going to be a female filmmaker from the fucking 60s or 50s.
Right.
Really.
And
there
if there
probably
is,
are,
they're just
but
not my
that
inspiration.
filtered
it's just
through.
not going to be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they weren't given the tools that they probably should have
The
been
opportunities for this genre that
Like
might
people I
inspire
admire a
you.
lot, Ida Lupino, sure, whatever. Like they're, you know, Sally Potter. They're like directors. Like,
I just meant artistic, yeah,
yeah,
and not
but, like,
that
and
matters.
Catherine
but
Bigelow, like I fucking
Yep.
whoa, what a cool career. I love Point Break. But
Mm-hmm.
for her to have the career she's had, like that's incredible. She's just not artistically in line with like what I'm interested in talking about, and so she just never inspired me in that way. She's just not my favorite. But like, what a career. And like Mary Harron, like I would totally make American Psycho.
Hell yeah.
So that
Oh, yeah.
that leads me to something that we talked about off interview, and that was kind of a little bit how you have some reservations about a story to tell, and I think that it's interesting because most directors, you know, we all of us content creators, we all have a story to tell. Our experiences are always more relevant than the other person. You know, that's how this business works. It's so like overly competitive and saturated, and it was such an interesting tidbit that like when you told me that you're not really interested in telling your perfect like director story till you have a story to experience. I feel like that just kind of speaks to who you are as a person and like how you kind of view life, because again, so many people move here and they're moving to a city they may have never lived in before to tell stories about a life that they feel like, you know, they deserve to tell stories about, you know. And how does that speak to your experiences?
Yeah, I just there are a couple of like ideas I've been percolating on for a while, whatever, like things that are like in outline phases, but nothing that like I just don't have a story that I think is important enough to like take up people's time yet. Like you know, it's a big commitment when you pick a movie like right now. Like there's just like the crazy oversaturation of media we're in. It's so hard to pick what you're going to watch at night because you're like all of these things and also all of these new things. And I just don't want to be a part of like the oversaturation of that yet until I have something that I think is really worth saying. I think you only have like, I don't necessarily know if I believe in the first feature like needs to be incredible. I mean, we have people like, you know, Damien Chazelle and like, you know, who hides his first feature and like pretends Whiplash, but like, I don't
Love
know.
Whiplash, by the way.
Yeah, I love Whiplash, but it's like
Absolute
you
gold.
don't need to have a good freshman film. You can have a good sophomore film. Like it doesn't matter. I just feel like personally, if I'm going to put all that money together and if I'm going to spend all this time on it, it needs to be something worth saying and like not to shit on myself, but I'm like a white girl from the valley. I don't have anything important to say yet. And I think once I get something important to say, it'll be more.
I feel like that's
Can
very
you
humbling.
make can you make like existential like Gaspar Noé type version of like Clueless 2?
Okay, wait, actually
would
that's
be
what I do have.
amazing.
I have a high school thing that I've been
Be
working
Here's
on.
the script, actually.
No, but I've been working on a high school thing that's like very
Clueless, but they
similar.
accidentally take acid.
Yep. Okay, there we go.
I mean, boom.
You just wrote it for me.
You got
Spoiler,
something to
dude.
say now.
Yeah, I do. But I guess like I also don't have an experience that I think is
So you're
particularly
gonna have to do it.
unique.
So should
what-
we all take acid?
what are you
I
saying?
brought some if you want to
No,
take
it has
some.
to be accidental,
I have a
dude.
whatever you. Yeah, exactly.
You know that water we got you
Ooh.
earlier?
Sorry,
Well,
I'm just peeping that graduate sticker.
This is my little book, also Exterminating an Angel, for you.
Nice. What's the third one?
Paris is Burning.
Mm,
Rushmore an Election.
nice.
So you, what have you directed then? You haven't directed your first feature yet.
No, I have not. I
You've
have
done-
directed shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly, I did my thesis in school. I did the one that we did right before that, our junior year thesis. And then I've worked on a couple of like pilots for other people. So I directed 2 like ultra low budget pilots that were, one was a comedy, one was more sports drama, but it was great experiences. Neither has released because of COVID. They had a lot of problems with like the post production, getting people in to do like ADR, so
Yeah.
a lot of things stalled. But yeah, last January I directed 2 pilots, so not that much else. It's really hard, I would say, in LA to be a director who gets hired by other people.
Yeah.
Because you really, like most people who have
Yeah.
projects, want to direct and are directing.
yeah, you want to do it yourself.
You have to be a
Yeah.
producer.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like one of those things, like you wish everyone told you before you move to LA is like, oh, if you're going to be a director, get ready to do all the other bullshit you don't want to
Yeah.
do if you want to basically do the stuff that you want to do. I mean, of course, you can go direct and get hired to do crap you don't want to do,
Yeah.
but then you're directing crap you don't want to
And
do.
it's also,
and
that's a lot of commercial work. And I also,
you still have to be good.
yeah.
And you still have to be good.
And I never did any spec stuff for commercial. Like some people, like early on, like with the equipment at film school,
Yeah.
did like spec stuff, and I was just really dumb and never did any of that. So it's like I don't have the ability to advertise myself as a commercial director either, because I do know people who like commercial direct, and it seems like it's a good path to getting directing days. But
There's such a catch-22 because like with directors, with DPs, it's such a, you have to like put in your time, and you also have to get good, obviously. But then it's also like it's such a young person's game to a certain extent,
Well, because you have to hustle. So I think you have to spend,
It's
like,
just
there's
a
such a
hard
commitment and
lifestyle.
sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you gotta, you want to have a sustained career once you get there. It's such a weird catch-22 that I'm like still trying to navigate.
Liz, do you think? I'm just curious. I just wanted to go there and ask that. Is, do you think that you've had barriers getting into directing being a woman? I mean, like, again,
Yeah.
the last like 2 or 3 years, I feel like all of a sudden, even in LA, like it's like all of a sudden it's like ton of women producing, directing, writing. Again, maybe not as many as there should be, but like, there's a lot now. But it's been very, very recently that's been a thing. And again, we've been in the industry longer than 2 or 3 years. So do you think that's been a barrier to you in the past? Or like, do you think you've experienced that in LA?
honestly, not with the directing. I
Okay.
think with the directing, it is just a general sense of like, well, I don't have a directing manager, like, or agent or anything. Like, I don't have my own money to do my own projects. Like, it's just, I think that's more a accumulation of, to be a director, you have to have the money to make a thing so that you can then prove to people that they should hire you to make other things.
Yeah.
And I just don't have the money for that feature yet. But like eventually, like I'm saving up, like when I do have that money and that time, like I'll hopefully have a calling card. I just feel like I also shouldn't be super worried. Like I think this is, it's a young person's game, but it's also like, it's also not. It's also, the film industry is super open to people of all ages, honestly. And like I'm a PA, and that's a thing that I'm okay with because of my age. And I think that a lot of people on set are, you know, starting to trend older, actually, at least on, you know, union stuff. And so I don't really mind it. I don't mind not having directing under my belt yet. Like I would like to, again, once I have something to say, once I have the money for it, once I feel like it's something worth sharing.
Okay.
But like in the meantime, I'll help make the things that other people feel that way about.
So as a creative, you haven't really experienced that barrier so much.
I don't think so. I really honestly, in a lot of non-union work, have been, like I said earlier, very, very well respected, just in terms of like when I say something as a producer or an AD. Like there's been very few experiences, and they were from many years ago, where it was also like I was 18 and probably didn't know as much as I thought I did anyway, and someone disrespecting me on a set is like still problematic, but maybe also I didn't know exactly what I was talking about.
Not appropriate, but not like because of that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like I said, it's only really on union stuff where the age and the gender comes into any sort of play. And like, I've been lucky. I've never personally been like assaulted or harassed in that way, but I know many women who have. And a lot of them PAs because, again, that's a very like exchangeable, interchangeable position.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't really, you're not like contracted.
Don't have a lot of power either.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of power. You're not contracted. If you say something, again, you're so easily replaceable.
I was going to say the replaceable crew member is the first one to get axed when they complain, whether or not that's ethically right or not, it's very true, especially out here. I feel like
it's not even like, I feel like it's not as overt as I'm sure it must have been at some point, like just by the way people talk about like set etiquette and like gender relationships in the industry in the past. But like every once in a while, there's just a comment where you're like, dude, like, really?
We've all worked with
What?
those producers
Yeah.
and directors
really
who are
think
like, yeah, those producers and directors who still think it's like 1978, and it's like, we can't talk to women like that, right?
Yeah,
All
but
right.
again, like
Especially in
also,
LA. It's like,
yeah,
It's-
transportation,
Yeah.
grips, just all
It
sorts
blows
of
my mind. I've talked to some like older guys that have been in the industry for so long, where it's like, what, dude? What? You really think that? Like, I remember having dinner one time where there was a couple older guys there, and it was like, man, you can't make money unless you're a woman or a person of color. I'm like, dude, what?
It's like-
what?
I can't get
Like,
hired
it's-
anymore because I'm white.
it's like, man, it must be so easy. Like, dude, you have no idea what you're saying right now. Like, it's just crazy.
Right,
And that's
we-
just a common thought.
Right, we literally have like initiatives to boost that, and
Yeah.
it can still be difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
So
Fuck, marry, kill, Gaspar, Buñuel, Fincher.
Oh, dude,
I'm not
come on,
gonna
you didn't
do
throw
that.
in
I'm
those.
not gonna
Denis?
do that.
You gotta.
What about Denis? Come
Well,
on,
I'm
man.
gonna kill Buñuel because he's already dead, and I feel like that's like
Okay,
the only way to do that.
Denny. Switch out Buñuel with Denny.
Mary Denny. He spent like 10 years just home watching the kids, like in the middle of his career.
Shit.
He's like such
Yeah,
a
you
sweet,
marry him.
sweet man.
You don't marry Gaspar or Fincher for sure.
I was gonna
Definitely
say,
don't marry Gaspar.
ooh, I don't know which of those experiences
But
would be
I
more
also
interesting.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm like,
shit.
fuck Gaspar or Fincher. It's like they're both like such experiential. Like, what would those be like?
The movie you have something to say is fucking Fincher. That's the film. That's a good
Fuck you.
story.
Driving Miss Daisy. How about fucking Fincher?
Morgan Freeman in it as well.
Hell yeah.
So, what have you been working on lately?
No,
Liz?
I want an
Wait a
answer.
second.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Michael.
Come on, let's talk about fun stuff.
Fuck Fincher, kill Gaspar, just because I don't know. Like,
kill
I feel like
Gaspar,
Fincher.
fuck
Probably kill
Fincher,
Gaspar.
and marry Denny. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
that's,
that's
I
a
would
good
I would do the same.
Yeah.
Good.
I would do the same.
Can I just marry Denis 3 times?
Nope.
Does that count?
Can I marry him, fuck him, and then just kill myself
then-
because I had everything I ever
'Cause
wanted
that
and
was the
more?
peak.
Like,
Shit, man, Dune.
I feel like if you fuck Fincher though, he's gonna make you go for like 8 hours. Do like 60
it's
takes.
not perfect yet.
Make a sex tape.
Let's
and
go
he
again?
makes you do 60 takes of a sex tape.
No, no, you know what it is? It's the irony. It's probably the irony that he's like the opposite of that. It's probably a chore. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like I don't have time for that. Like, are you kidding
We'll
me?
just put it in post.
He's
Yeah,
so
like-
aloof.
It's probably like a thing in his schedule. Like, what do I have Sunday? Like sex. Like, move it to next Sunday. I don't have time.
I feel like I do that too already. I'm not even that busy.
I wish I had that problem.
Oh,
Can we move it to sooner, please?
Peter? You just wish you had an assistant.
Oh,
true.
That would be
don't we
nice,
all?
I really want an assistant.
Not that you're so busy, you need an assistant.
That's
Like,
my cat,
you just want
dude.
someone
What
to
are you
tell what to
I've
do.
always fantasized about having an identical twin or a clone where I can just be like send them off to do things that I don't want to do, so I can just chill.
This is
How do you get him in that position?
this is actually a SpongeBob episode. There's actually an episode about
Doodle
this.
Bob?
Really?
No, he
one?
like
Was
doesn't he
there
get?
an
Remember he
identical
gets like the
twin?
clone where he's like,
Doodle Bob.
that's not Doodle Bob. There's another one
Where he has a
he's
clone?
yeah.
If it's after season 5, I don't know it.
How many seasons of SpongeBob are there?
29.
I don't know. I'm not.
No, what?
That's a guess.
No.
Stop
That's like
it.
what
Absolutely no
that's
way.
almost The Simpsons.
That's the longest running show ever.
No,
Stop.
it's
No,
like
it's not
it's like
that long.
15 or something. I
Give me
feel
a
like.
sec.
All right.
We're just gonna launch into a new topic. We're gonna talk about Liz.
Oh, my question.
Yeah,
We're just talking about
you're
Liz.
not Liz.
Well, I just
she's
wanted
Liz.
to ask you.
You're Connor.
Like, what your favorite experience in your filmmaking career so far, or like a funny story on set, or like a moment on set that's like a highlight or something like that.
Okay, well, I have two. Okay, I have like one of my favorite moments on set is obviously just like directing. Always feels really nice. Like when you get into that moment where like everything is moving and you've kind of distributed all that you can and you're just like excited and watching everything like around you come into like what you envisioned from it. And on my thesis film, my senior year, that like just really happened a lot of times. Like my crew was just super in sync with me, and yeah, I was just really, that whole experience was really like probably the best filmmaking experience I've had.
So Liz, we covered like basically like your whole history, because we talked about all these movies you love. You've AD'd, and COVID's like changed the world now, and you're mostly like a non-union assistant director. What do you find yourself doing a lot nowadays now that COVID has completely changed our landscape? And
Yeah.
like, where is your ADing, and having not done this first feature kind of brought you, and like, you know, where is that going to wedge you towards like changing your career in the future?
Yeah. So, I mean, what's actually kind of a tragedy, kind of not, I don't really, you know, however you feel about it. Since COVID, I've not really done that much ADing. I've AD'd a couple commercials, you know, for a couple of companies that I had like prior connections with. I'm ADing a couple of shorts for, you know, close friends, but really the work has been, I've been doing a lot of producing, remote producing for like a company in New York. I've been doing some producing of like scripts that are eventually going to be made into features.
Just like consulting kind of stuff?
Yeah, a lot of consulting, consulting breakdowns and budgets, consulting schedules, like a lot of that's like been the AD world for me. I've mostly, like I said, producing and PAing. I was just on a like 39-day travel shoot.
What a spectrum. Producing and PAing.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever pays the bills during
department,
COVID, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and just the lack of work is, you know, for anyone listening, is not, you know, indicative of any quality of work. It's just that the industry out here has just, I mean, it's busier than ever, but at the same time, busier in different areas than it used to be.
It's busier than ever in union, because all of the things that like shut down have all piled up. But I think in the non-union side of things, and like this has been a struggle I came into while producing non-union, is that it's really expensive to get people COVID tested, like inordinately expensive.
Yeah.
I had to write contracts that were basically like, you guarantee you will get your own test. We are not to pay for it. But like, you know, like I had to create a contract for the New York shoot because they also don't have like a Dodger Stadium that you just get like 24-hour results. Yeah. So I had to contract people to basically quarantine like 3 days before the shoot, like get their own test, and then like hopefully still be, you know, negative. And it was like a really weird situation because we just couldn't afford it. Like no matter what else at the end of the day, like it's just a non-union shoot can't afford to test people, can't afford to hire a CCO, can't afford to have someone going around with like the sanitation spray. They can't have air scrubbers. Like the scrubbers are fucking huge and expensive. And so I think union stuff is really, and that's why I'm PAing. I mean, like I'm an additional on 3 different things in the next 2 weeks. Like things are happening, but it's all union.
I just feel like it's important though, because we had another episode where we really focused on just like the indie grift, you know, the like start from the bottom and just claw your way up and do what you got to do. And I think it's interesting to kind of talk about this perspective of, you know, having like that indie work habits, but kind of forcing yourself in through the studio system, and what the benefits are to that, because I feel like you kind of can speak to that.
Well, I mean, the benefits, I think I said something earlier about like, it's the moving parts are really different. It's like, it's just bigger things. Like when you're thinking about like, how are we going to get the condor in when catering has started setting up in the path? Like that's just a different thing than what you talk about on like, you know, non-union stuff. And I think with non-union, I obviously everyone can always keep growing, but I've pretty much like mastered like the budget range that is, and like I'm pretty seasoned in it, and I feel like I can do it, and it's not as challenging, and I just want to start working up towards challenges. And I think that when like the second that I've like paired myself with, like as they take me onto these other projects, like the things get crazier. Like the next thing that I think I'm going to be on would have like a 16-person first team, including names that like including names of people that you would just be like, whoa, like I'm super excited to be working with, you know, like it's a great project, but working with like that many like celebrities is going to be a new experience for me, because I work with actors who are generally just really like cordial and like do what they, you know, they're just like your friend. They're going to do what you tell them. And like, this is going to be a new experience to like work with
divas,
bigger name talent, or possibly
people
who
you
knows?
wouldn't let in your car.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. But
Well,
yeah, so
and
I don't know.
You hit on something really funny there, is you said challenges, and that is something that we've had several filmmakers that we've had on the show talk about is that's kind of the motivation for being in the industry is like there's this weird innate desire to seek challenge. And as soon as what you're working on ceases to be challenging, it's like, well, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Time to move on to the next thing. And it's almost like we have, you know, again, this doesn't speak for everyone, but it's almost maybe indicative of our generation of filmmakers is we all came into this mostly realizing that we were all going to get screwed over. We were getting ready to be screwed over.
Fucking here for it.
Yep. And it's like, okay, so if that's all you got, like, what's the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a level of preparation that like we were kind of built to live in like during this time, like during this like COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
Like our generation of filmmakers have exceeded and continued to work and find ways to work because we're like, well, we're not going to sit around and wait for somebody else to solve the problem
Yeah.
for us.
And this is I don't want to contradict you in this way, but I think it's this one is an ageless thing. This doesn't really have an age. That I think the hungriness of film workers, filmmakers, film employees to go back to work, because everyone on the show that I was just on, week one was like so happy to be back. Like they would have taken anything.
And-
they just wanted to get back to work. Didn't matter what age they were.
You're totally right. It's a trade. It's a trade thing. It's not
Yeah.
an age thing. It's
Yeah.
it's just
But
like
I do
anyone
think-
in this. Maybe we're a little bit more geared towards like having like the hot, the fire under us at all times.
I think the overpopulation of the film industry, like there's a lot of people who want to make movies. There's a lot of people who want to do different, types of, they just want to be different crew members. A lot of them want to direct and write, whatever. But
Yeah.
like, I think we're more prepared for that and for proving ourselves in a situation like that. Like, I think our generation is really good at finding ways to be the best at what they're trying to do. Like I think people are really scrappy in our generation, but I think everyone just wanted to get back to work really, unfortunately. And in a COVID world, that's very strange. It is.
Have you had any scary COVID experiences yet?
I've had two.
Without
Yeah.
Are either of them story worthy?
One of them very story worthy, but like probably can't talk about it. The other one,
Can you just broad like umbrella out like
yeah, there was a person on a set that I did in the last year that did like have COVID, and no one on the crew was told until like a later date.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's scary.
yeah. But then the other one was just like a shit show, T to B, top to bottom, horrible experience. We were on a set. I was second. It was reality. We had a person come in. This person had just recently flown like into the country from a foreign country. So we were already like, oh, interesting that they are here. Have they been COVID tested? And they had been tested twice before coming to America, and then once in America, but that result hadn't come in yet because it was a PCR. They got a rapid that said negative, whatever, cool. And then they like came onto set without that PCR result still, and like took their mask off and was talking to people and was interacting and whatever, went up to their green room, and then we found out that the other one was positive. And so like
Those damn rapids.
yeah, it was just ridiculous. Yeah, the rapids are not nearly as
They
as
say
effective.
like what is it, like 75
I think it's
plus.
I've heard 76% accuracy with the rapid, and then 96 with the PCR. But I've had CCOs tell me different. I don't know. I'm not like a professional.
Well,
with
I know
that.
that's why the unions like they want the PCR because it's like a higher level of accuracy.
Yeah. On the last show I was on, I got PCR'd twice a week, and it was just like, you just had to step off set for an hour or whatever, 10 minutes. Like, it depended if it was at base camp or if it was on set.
Don't you
But
love how that's just like set protocol now, set routine?
Yeah.
Like, just get tested, just get
like-
brain scraped.
All right, this is
5
this
days
is
a
done.
week.
I'll step away for a second.
Although a lot of people hated it. A lot of crew members were always like, well, I have to go now because I have my test. Blah, blah, blah. Like, get really angry. And I was
Really?
like, you're getting a free PCR test. Like, just
Yeah,
fucking take
I
it.
love it when they have them on set. I
Yeah.
love it. 'Cause
And
I'm
I'm
like,
like, no one
sweet, I don't
can
have to
complain.
sit in a parking
Yeah.
lot for a fucking hour to wait.
2 weeks ago, I broke my record. I got 8 COVID tests 2 weeks ago.
week?
In a week, yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
Just multiple jobs. But
Damn.
like,
I think my max is 6.
I think my max
Yeah.
is 4, maybe 5.
I had
Yeah.
one this morning.
For anyone who doesn't know,
yeah,
that's we're
same.
just like constantly getting tested in the film industry. I
Yep.
mean, they somehow can afford it out here, just like getting tested like,
So we're
7
all-
times
we're all
a
good.
week.
Well,
It's
but
normally
again,
we're all
free.
good.
Yeah.
again, unions,
We're all gonna at the end of this
Yeah.
episode. We're all gonna
union
kiss
shows
each
and
other. It's gonna be
commercials can afford
crazy.
it.
We're all gonna kiss each other.
Union shows.
Hey, I'm a CCO. It's not that guaranteed. We should not kiss.
We shouldn't.
We should not kiss.
Should or shouldn't?
Should not.
I don't think I heard that right.
Peter just wants to kiss.
All
I
right.
just want to kiss everyone.
Well,
It's
it
gonna
looks
be a crazy end of the episode, dude.
well, it looks like
Stay
we're getting
tuned on the Patreon for
Is Peter,
Yeah,
is
that's
Peter,
on the Patreon or the OnlyFans.
Is Peter
Depends.
still a is Peter still a not problematic?
Am I
man?
problematic yet?
Listen, surprisingly not.
Yes, dude.
Oh my god.
Give me another 40.
Gonna get us flagged.
Oh God! Wait,
That's
that
the
reminds me.
goal.
You just saying "get me 40" reminds me. This is the worst thing I've ever heard on a fucking transportation van in my life. I was
Uh-oh.
on a transpo van. There was like a bunch of us, me and my friend, sitting next to each other, both female PAs. And this electric, I don't know, 50 years old. We're passing this high school, and he goes, "If they're under 18, you're gonna get more than 20." And I was just like,
Wait, more than 20 what?
years in prison.
Oh.
Have you heard that before? dude?
Jailbait.
Yeah.
Have you
No, I
watched To
haven't.
Catch a Predator?
But like this dude just says this aloud to the entire bus, and thank God there was this fucking incredible best boy grip who just goes, "Please don't say things like that anymore. You know just as much as we do how awful that was." And I was just like,
Hey.
snaps for this guy, like the first dude to ever stand up for
Damn.
women in a
who's
bus.
who's like, oh, high school. Why don't I say this weird fact about prison and underage people?
Union union employees.
Yeet.
I also do actually love a lot of like there are a ton of people who are just as like wonderful, and like the union set world has also been awesome. I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of friends.
You're throwing
Love it.
shade. It's age. It's age.
Yeah.
Throwing shade.
Yeah.
It's age.
It's just bad
It's
people.
age, but
it's
just-
also
it's just
boomer.
bad
A
people.
certain type of individual who's like not there for the art, whatever. Like
Yeah.
I've never had someone from props do anything like because they care. Like I don't know. It's like
yeah.
I don't know. It's just a weird place to be.
I can't believe
Yeah.
you've never heard that though. There's a To Catch a Predator where
I'm Chris
they
Hansen.
read the
This is-
text thing and he says, "But baby, 15 could get me 20." Is what he says in the text thread.
Chris Hansen.
That's known.
Wow.
So we're gonna start wrapping it up here, Liz. I have one more question for you. These two
We're gonna
might have
end it
more,
on
but I have one.
pedophilia.
I like to ask everyone this, especially with COVID going on. It's really changed like the dynamic of the industry, and got us serious up for this one. What kind of advice would you give filmmakers trying to get into the business right now? I always feel like my advice is pretty much changing like day to day because
Yeah.
I feel like there's no consistency anymore. It's just kind of like, well, you want to try?
yeah.
Just do what you think is best because I don't know that I can promise you a best way in. What's your opinion on that?
I'm so tired. Like just thinking about that.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's become so exhausting. Just like
yeah.
the like
I wouldn't is like the really sad and like my heart breaks for I have a bunch of friends who are still in film school, like grad school, whatever. Like I have a friend who I'm producing his like senior year thesis, and they've started to do like the class online.
I've
and
heard similar.
yeah, and he's just like, I can't
how do you go to film school online?
exactly, and that's the
Exactly.
thing. Yeah, and
You
I
just watch movies like
Right.
yeah, I
You might
talked
as well
to a
watch
couple of
YouTube
them.
tutorials.
yeah.
Like
true.
there's an editing professor from LMU that I'm like close with, and a couple cinema studies, and they're all managing through Zoom, and like you can send an iLock home with people, and they can use Pro Tools, whatever. Like you can do a lot of
For editing, yeah.
yeah for editing, for
Not for
sound mixing.
production.
Production is just you can't. That's
Yeah.
the thing, and I've told a lot of people, I'm like, I think you should just drop out until you can come back in. Like I think you shouldn't. Like one of the few things you come out with, if you're a director, if you're a DP, whatever, is like a reel. And if you don't have any of that, then it really wasn't. And it's not like people are going to be like, oh, I get it. You were home during COVID. It's like, no, there are people who have enough money that they're also still making like shorts that are excellent. And film is ultimate, like unfortunately is super, classist. And I think like there are people who manage to make films the other way, and it's these great stories, but it's like, Sean Baker making 2 really great low budget films doesn't mean that your iPhone film is going to go anywhere, unfortunately. And during COVID, like them being like, use your parents and your dog, ha ha ha, in your student I'm like, that's not funny. I spent
In like a serious
Yeah.
manner, like right, the industry doesn't have it's like it's so
There are no
dark,
breaks.
but there's no
Yeah.
availability. Right, there's no like open slots. I mean, there
Yeah.
are.
but there aren't for people like
there were few before and there's fewer even right now.
yeah, there's very few slots, and there's very few slots for certain positions. And I think if you also then just don't come out of it with anything like material to present, and like you don't need to go to film school. I really don't believe that. But I think if you've started with those 4 years and that's like the network you're making and that's the money you've put in, and you've gone to LMU that costs like $60K a year or some bullshit if you're paying full
LMU's
tuition.
insane.
Yeah, it's like you need to come out of there with something tactile. You need to come out of there with a fucking like every weekend you need to be on set because you're not learning in the classrooms. Like I knew a kid who graduated LMU.
What does a Zoom call get you?
Nothing. I knew a kid who didn't know what the fucking 180 line was when he graduated LMU. And it's like, it's not the classes. It's the weekends. It's the sets.
Yeah.
It's
Being there.
production. And
It's
if there's no production,
the
it's not worth
environment.
going to film school. So I'd say don't go to film school. I'd say I don't want to tell people to go on Craigslist either because that's like,
That's sketch.
yeah, or like Mandy, like I don't really. Facebook has been pretty decent for me in terms of like every once in a while, you know, I need a gig, like, you know, in a pinch you go to Facebook and you can find something, and generally like someone else like comments your name, like there's like a little bit of a community, but you just need to get a community.
Not much to like somebody who's, you know, like I want to just move to LA dry and get into this industry right now. Now is probably not
No.
a good time. I mean, my advice would be stay home and probably just shoot your shit at home. Probably a better choice of your time and money, and wait for the
Yeah.
pandemic to slow
Don't
down.
shoot
And
any party scenes. You.
Or do.
so
Maybe
you gave
that's
us a glass half empty. You know, can you give us an optimistic out? You know, what is your 2 cents of advice? You know, the opportunities are going to come back. There's a better chance to be a female filmmaker now more than ever. You know.
Everything's glum.
I mean,
I
come
hope-
on, Liz.
I
The
hope,
world's
I hope.
over.
I don't.
Everything's so up in the air.
Yeah, I don't really know how. And there's been like several like periods in like, you know, film history where like things have just like blown up.
Yeah.
And I think like, you know, the 70s, the 90s, like you get these decades, and I wonder if like maybe when this is all over, if the giants will have gotten so giant that everything just like we've talked a little bit about this. Like there needs to be more middle movies. I think that they're just the way that the system is set up right now, it's really hard to direct, and it's like you have to be on one of like the 20 movies that comes out that year,
Or TV, which has
or
its
TV.
other
Yeah.
It's almost like
cons.
we're waiting for like the great industry reset,
Yeah.
like for the opportunities to trickle down
Yeah.
and become available again to like the newer ilk of filmmakers again, because there are definitely people our age that are working those jobs consistently and getting those opportunities, but again, it's just the opportunities in comparison to how it used to be have just
Yeah.
become less and less and less.
And even with TV, like a lot of because of the middle movies are kind of getting gutted right now, a lot of those directors are going to TV, which are taking the spots.
Yeah.
You know, like Fincher doing Mindhunter.
Yep.
Not that he can't make a movie, but obviously he's about to
But
make
like
a new
a
one.
Fight Club might, like, I don't know, like
And then like without saying too much because I can't, but I'm working on like an Apple Plus show where it's the show was supposed to be a feature by these pretty big name directors, and they couldn't make that work, and so now they're making it into a show, but like which is
Interesting.
fine. But again, if that's kind of if you can't direct a Marvel movie,
You're gonna
you
go
know,
to TV.
You're gonna go TV, but now all those spots are getting taken by established movie directors. So it's
There's
there,
like
there are a couple of
you know.
spaces that are still for like other filmmakers, and like
new opportunities
New
do
opportun- yeah.
exist.
New
I mean,
media.
it's
they're just not like rampant, and I would just I really do hope that eventually there is going to be another space of like middle tier, middle budget, like I don't know, movies that are more like I really hate this. Miramax was a good company. Fuck you, Harvey Weinstein. Like a Miramax level films.
Yeah.
That could be made by really good directors, and it could be their space where they find themselves before they go do these big movies. But fuck him. Like fuck him for ruining that for us.
well, maybe we can hope that like on the other end of this, there will be a golden age of, you know, because we kind of know with industries there is like this reset and recycle situation, and you know, as the opportunities decrease, it's going to create an environment where it might not be sustainable, and maybe we will get to a point where it's going to be like, you know, the 80s and early 90s again, where we're, you know, getting a lot of these middle range films that are accessible to the average, like, you know, film tradesman.
I mean, I have a friend, without, you know, I don't want to say too much. I have a friend that, you know, a company like, for better or worse, like Blumhouse is kind of like a horror factory at this point.
Yeah.
And they have these top tier, you know, like you have your Get Outs and those big Oscar grab movies. And then they have like tons of tier levels. They have very like, there's a lot of opportunities to kind of get into a tract with a studio like that and then kind of build up. So like a friend of ours has an opportunity to get in on the ground level with that company, with a possibility of rising within that studio. But you know, anyway, that's just the story.
All right,
That
Liz.
sucked, dude.
That's terrible.
Cut that out.
Terrible. All right, Liz. Why don't you? Where can audience members check you out? Do you want anyone to check you out on social media to creep on you? Do you post fun film life things?
I post fun stories, I think. I post fun like movie posters if you're interested in what I'm watching.
So where can people check you out? You know, even a
At
letterbox.
symbol. Oh, whoa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
letterbox,
letterbox.
and Instagram. Where can
Well,
people
it's all
find
the
you?
same thing. It's all movie maniac girl. So there you go.
All right.
Movie
Boom.
maniac.
We'll
Girl.
put it in the show notes. It'll be in the show notes. It'll be clickable.
Yeah, let's see. I think that's my letterbox too. But everyone should get letterbox. It's just really fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Liz. Well, we want to thank you for being on the show. Thank you for coming out today.
Of course, thank you.
Like usual, you can find me on Instagram, MWBachochin. You can also find Filmmakers Corner Podcast. We'll be posting all of our updates on Instagram, Facebook. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to music. You can also find our video components on YouTube. Connor and Peter, off to you two.
ConnorHeck.dp on Instagram, ConnorHeck.com. Everything's there. Yeah.
It's all there.
My Venmo is Peter-Murphy-17.
What's the 17
What's
for?
your OnlyFans?
I don't know. I think that just that's next week. I don't know how it got in there, but
Okay.
because I want $17 from everyone.
You were probably 17 when you made it, right?
No way.
A
No, it wasn't
Venmo?
that then. I'm
Uh,
32.
All right. Well,
Not 32.
thanks for joining us this week, everybody. We'll catch you next week. Have a good rest of your week.
Bye. Always on deck.